Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year again. The azaleas are blooming and we are gearing up for the most iconic tournament in golf, the Masters. And that means it's time for Masters Fantasy. Today I'm going to be going over my picks for the 2025 Masters Fantasy. But before we dive into that, let's quickly go over the rules and how to play. Now, there have been a few changes in the rules since last year, so we'll make sure to highlight those in the video today as well. First off, you'll need to head to the official Masters website where you can create your fantasy team. You'll be picking 5 players, where the goal is to accumulate the lowest cumulative score across all your players from all 4 rounds. Now, the core rules remain the same. You pick golfers, their scores are added up, lowest score wins. But here are the core rule changes for 2025. In the past, you picked 4 golfers, 1 past champion, 1 US player, 1 international player, and 1 wild card. But this year they added a 5th category, first timers. So this is people who have never played at the Masters before. Now you can only pick a person once, so if Scottie Scheffler is your past champion pick, you can't also pick him as your US player. Another change for this year's fantasy is the scoring. In the past, you'd tally up how many birdies, eagles, bogeys, etc. your players would get, and you'd gain and lose points based on how many of each they got. Then you'd tally up your total number of points for each day, and the person with the most points after 4 days wins. This year, scoring is just the sum of players' scores. So if 3 of your players are at -4 and 2 of your players are at +1, then your score for that day is 10 under, with a couple opportunities for bonus points, such as one of your picks being the tournament winner. When you go to the Masters website or in the application to make your fantasy selections, they have several new tool tips to help you decide which players to choose. One of them being this projected points calculator. Now, the way scoring works this year is it's the sum of their cumulative score, not points based on birdies or eagles. So you want the lowest possible negative number, not a projected like +17 or something like that. So please keep that in mind when you're looking at the projected points to try and help you figure out which players to pick. The last thing you need to do to set up your Masters Fantasy is submit your answer for the tiebreaker. This year's tiebreaker question is how many total putts will be made by the field throughout the entire tournament. Let's quickly run through my picks for my roster, then I'll give you guys my secret sauce on how I calculated the number of putts for this tiebreaker. For my past champion, it's gotta be Scottie Scheffler. Obviously, man's just been on an absolute tear for the last 2 years. For my US player, I'm going Collin Morikawa. I really wanted to pick Xander, but coming off the rib injury, I feel like that's a really hard one to control consistency-wise, so I'm not really sure where his game's at, even though he usually plays pretty well at the Masters. But Collin also did really well at last year's Masters, so I feel like he's a pretty safe pick and in pretty good form. For my international player, I'm going Jon Rahm. He's been top 10 in every live event since he joined the league, and I have a feeling, given last year's majors performances and losing out on that gold medal to Scottie, he's going to be pretty hungry to prove that he's still got what it takes for the majors. For my first timer, I'm going Aaron Rai. So he won for the first time last year, he's performed pretty consistently, and he's sponsored by Me and My Golf. I watched a lot of their YouTube videos early on, and he's got that logo on his hat, so we got to support those guys. Then lastly, for my wild card pick, we got to pick the biggest wild card of wild cards, Jordan Spieth, because you just never know what that man's going to do, and I feel like I got to keep him on the roster because he always performs well at Augusta. You get to give your picks a nickname, so I went with the Z Fighters, paying a little homage to Dragon Ball Z there. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. Now to calculate the tiebreaker question. How many putts will be recorded by the field? So as of right now, there are 96 players confirmed in the field, with the opportunity for 1 more potentially for this weekend's winner, if they aren't already qualified for the Masters. So I'm just going to go with a number of 96 players in the field to start out. If we look at PGA Tour shot link data on their website, the average putts per round is 28.82. Now, I would say that Augusta National's greens play a little bit harder than the average on the PGA Tour probably, So I'm going to bump that average number of putts per round up to 30 from 28.82. So for the first 2 days, we have 96 players in the field, 30 putts, and 2 rounds is going to give us 5,760 putts. Then the cut line for Augusta National is top 50 and ties. So last year in 2024, there was 60 people that had made the cut. So I'm just going to split the difference and call it 55. So for the second 2 days, we have 55 players in the field. Again, 30 putts per round per player, and then 2 rounds is going to give us 3,300 putts. So for a grand total of 9,060 putts. Now, you guys can be a little bit more granular in your calculations, but I would think this is going to give you guys a good ballpark number of where you should be around, just going off of consistent averages and PGA Tour ShotLink data. The last topic to mention is leagues and prizes. Now, you can create your own custom leagues to invite your friends to and compete against. I'll put a link for my league in the description down below. Feel free to join if you guys want. And as far as prizes go, there are 4 main prizes. So 1 prize for each of the top 3 scorers at the end of the tournament, and then 1 daily prize, so 1 for each day of the tournament for the top scorer that day. The details of which can be found on the Masters website. So there you have it, my 2025 Masters Fantasy Picks. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below your guys' picks and who you think is going to win the Masters. Also, if you came up with a more creative or interesting way to calculate the number of putts, I'd be very curious to know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We got lots of entertaining golf content on the channel. Good luck with your guys' fantasy picks, and be sure to enjoy the tournament.